You step off the plane at Charles de Gaulle Airport expecting elegance. You're anticipating the France of fashion magazines, endless café culture, and a lifestyle that makes American hustle look barbaric. You think you're entering a prosperous European power, but you're mistaken. You're walking into a nation that's quietly, elegantly bankrupting itself. A country where the middle class is vanishing, where talented youth are escaping abroad, and where the government sits on a financial time bomb that would make even Italy nervous. The pastries remain excellent, but the economics? Absolutely terrifying. This is the reality behind French decline. Here are the brutal truths about why France is poorer than you imagine. First, let's understand the wage compression crisis. Picture yourself as a young French professional. You endured the grueling preparatory classes, earned your master's degree, speak decent English, and landed a solid position in Lyon or Bordeaux. You open that first paycheck, €1,740 net per month. That's the median salary in France as of 2024, meaning half the population earns less. Now consider your friend who skipped university entirely. Maybe they work retail or cleaning or serve tables. They're earning minimum wage, the SMIC. As of 2024, that's roughly €1,400 net monthly. See the problem? The difference between minimum wage and median professional salary is barely €350. In America, that gap is enormous. In France, it's negligible. Economists call this phenomenon smicrodization, the Great Flattening. Over 20 years, France compressed its entire wage structure into something resembling a pancake. Because labor costs are astronomically high for employers, thanks to taxes we'll address shortly, companies simply cannot afford meaningful raises. When the government aggressively raises minimum wage to match inflation, the floor rises but the ceiling stays frozen. The floor is consuming the entire room. Decades ago, only a tiny fraction of French workers earned minimum wage. Today it's over 17% of the workforce, with millions hovering just euros above it. Consider the psychological devastation. You study 5 years, manage teams, handle stress, and earn barely more than someone stocking shelves. Why bother working harder? Why innovate? This isn't just statistics. It's a motivation killer that transforms the entire nation into a participation trophy, where the prize is barely affording rent. Speaking of rent, if you think €1,900 stretches far because healthcare is free, welcome to the French real estate nightmare. In Paris, a decent studio apartment, a box where you can touch the refrigerator from your bed, costs €1,200 to €1,500 monthly. Do the math. On median salary, living in the capital becomes mathematically impossible without roommates or wealthy parents. You're not living in Paris, you're camping there. Drive 2 hours north from Parisian luxury boutiques, and you enter a different universe. This is France's Rust Belt, the forgotten periphery. This is where French industry's ghost haunts abandoned factories. We imagine France as an industrial powerhouse. We think Airbus, nuclear power, high-speed trains. Yes, those exist, but they're remnants of past glory, not indicators of present vitality. Here's the brutal reality. France doesn't manufacture anymore. Manufacturing now represents barely 10% of French GDP. Compare that to Germany, where it's nearly double. Or Italy, or even Poland. France de-industrialized faster and harder than almost any Western nation. Why? For 40 years, French policy obsessed over becoming post-industrial. The geniuses in Paris decided factories were dirty and outdated. They wanted France filled with consultants, designers, and luxury brand managers. They bet everything on services and tourism, becoming the world's museum. It worked for tourists. France attracts more visitors than any country on earth, but you cannot build a superpower on waiters and tour guides. The consequences devastate. When factories disappear, you lose high-paying blue-collar jobs sustaining middle-class rural areas. When those jobs migrate to Poland or China, towns die. Bakeries close, schools shrink, doctors retire unreplaced. This fuels the political rage you see on news broadcasts. When you see the yellow vests burning toll booths, they're not doing it because they hate Macron. They're redoing it because they inhabit peripheral ghost towns where the only economic activity remaining is a supermarket and an Amazon warehouse. They're casualties of the museum economy. While Paris sells €3,000 handbags to American tourists, the rest of France fights over crumbs. Here's the kicker. During COVID, France realized in panic it couldn't even manufacture basic paracetamol. The country that invented vaccines had to beg India and China for painkillers. That's the reality of a nation that forgot how to build. Let's discuss the national credit card. You hear about US debt constantly, but America has a printing press and the world's reserve currency. France does not. France uses the euro. It cannot print its way out. It relies on bond markets and German patience. In 2024, French public debt hit 113% of GDP. European Union rules. The famous Maastricht criteria say you should keep debt under 60%. France hasn't seen 60% since the internet was invented. Here's a terrifying fact. France hasn't passed a balanced budget since 1974. For 50 years, half a century, the French government spent more than it earned. Every single year. Left-wing governments, right-wing, centrists. Doesn't matter. The spending addiction is bipartisan. Where does the money go? Not infrastructure, bridges are crumbling. Not military, they rely on NATO, it's going into social protection. France spends a staggering 32 to 34% of GDP on social spending, the highest globally, surpassing Sweden and Denmark. It's a welfare state on steroids. Don't misunderstand, safety nets are valuable. It's wonderful nobody dies from lack of insulin. But this spending level is mathematically unsustainable when your economy isn't growing. You're paying for Rolls-Royce welfare with a Peugeot economy. The bill is arriving. In 2024, interest payments on French debt alone became one of the largest budget items, soon to eclipse education spending. France will spend more servicing past mistakes than educating future children. If that doesn't scream poverty, nothing does. If France champions anything globally, beating even Brazil at football, it's taxation. Remember that €1,740 paycheck? To get that money into your account, a financial massacre had to occur first. Here's how it works. A company wants to hire you for €60,000 annually. That's the super gross total employer cost. First, the government takes massive employer contributions. Gone. Now your gross salary. The contract number is roughly €43,000. But you don't receive $43,000. Now the government takes employee contributions for Social Security. Retirement, unemployment, another huge bite. You're left with net salary, approximately €33,000. But we're not finished because now you pay income tax on that net salary. By the time money actually hits your account to buy groceries, nearly 50% of what your employer paid for your labor has vanished into state coffers. France has the highest tax burden in the OECD. The government confiscates about 45 to 48% of the country's entire GDP in taxes and social charges annually. This creates a vicious poverty cycle. Companies can't afford high net salaries because taxes on top are astronomical. Employees have no disposable income to spend, so local economies stagnate. The government sees stagnation and says we need more money to fix this, and raises taxes again. It's an economic boa constrictor that squeezes slowly until you realize you'll re-suffocating when you try. Saving at month's end and realize you can't. And God help you if you try getting rich. France has a cultural allergy to wealth. They literally had a solidarity tax on wealth for years that taxed you just for having assets, regardless of income. It scared away thousands of millionaires. The message remains. Success is suspicious. Please apologize by giving us half. You probably saw the news in 2023. Paris burning, garbage piled high, riot police charging through tear gas. The reason? The government proposed raising retirement age from 62 to 64. To the world, this looked insane. In Germany, retirement age is heading to 67. In the UK and US, it's similar. But in France, asking people to work 2 more years was treated like human rights violation. Here rests the dark reality those protesters didn't want to admit. The French pension system is a demographic Ponzi scheme. It's pay-as-you-go, meaning money taken from your paycheck today isn't saved for your retirement. It's wired directly to a retiree right now. You're paying for your grandmother's vacation in Nice. This system works great with 4 workers per retiree. That was France in the 1960s. Today it's roughly 1.7 workers per retiree and dropping. France is aging. Baby boomers are retiring en masse, and the birth rate, while higher than Europe's average, isn't high enough to replace them. So you have a shrinking pool of young, underpaid workers trying to support a growing army of retirees living longer than ever. The math is brutal. It simply doesn't work. The system bleeds billions annually. To plug the hole, the government has 2 choices. Cut pensions, political suicide, or raise retirement age, political suicide, but slightly slower. So the country is stuck in paralyzed denial. The young know they'll probably never see full pensions, yet they're taxed to death paying for the old. It's intergenerational robbery, making the working population poorer every single day. Walk into a Goldman Sachs office in London, a Google office in Zurich, or a research lab in Montreal. Look at the badges. You'll see shocking numbers of French names. France produces brilliant minds. The education system, specifically elite grands écoles, is fantastic at producing world-class engineers, mathematicians, and financiers, but France cannot keep them. This brain drain is bleeding the country of its most valuable resource, human capital. Imagine you're a top-tier AI researcher. Option A. Stay in Paris, earn 45,000 euros yearly, pay 50% taxes, struggle renting a 30-square-meter apartment, deal with rigid hierarchy where you wait 15 years for promotion. Option B. Move to California or Switzerland, earn $150,000 yearly, pay lower taxes, live in a house, lead a team immediately. It's not a hard choice. Estimates suggest 2.5 to 3 million French citizens live abroad, but it's not random. These are risk-takers, entrepreneurs, scientists. When the smartest leave, innovation leaves with them. This is why there's no French Google or Amazon. Very few French tech giants emerged in the last 20 years. The founders left. They built Snowflake in the US. They built Moderna. The CEO is French in the US. France is subsidizing the rest of the world. French taxpayers pay for expensive education of these geniuses, then the US or UK economy reaps the profits of their labor. It creates a country that feels stagnant, where ambition is capped. If you stay, you accept the ceiling. If you want to break through, you buy a plane ticket. But wait, you argue, at least they have free healthcare. At least trains are fast. Here's the saddest part, the free stuff is breaking. For decades, the unspoken contract was we take half your money but give you world-class services. That contract is void. Visit a French emergency room today. You might wait 10, 12, sometimes 20 hours. There are medical deserts in rural France where you cannot find a GP. Doctors are retiring and the quota system kept new doctor numbers artificially low for decades. Look at education. French students used to excel in math. In latest PISA rankings, France dropped to middle pack with inequality skyrocketing. Teachers are underpaid and demoralized, leading to recruitment crisis where the government hires unqualified staff just to put warm bodies in classrooms. The tragedy is the French still pay luxury prices, high taxes, but receive budget service. When public sector fails, those with money opt out. They send kids to private schools, go to private clinics, use private security. This creates two-tier society. The rich insulate themselves from decline while poor and middle class are left with crumbling infrastructure. Before you laugh from Chicago, London, or Toronto, let me warn you, France is not an anomaly. It's a time machine. France shows you exactly what happens when a wealthy Western democracy runs out of road. It's the test case for a specific economic disease coming for everyone else. Look at the symptoms. Aging population. France hit the demographic wall first. The US is 10 years behind. Deindustrialization. France gutted factories faster, but the US Rust Belt tells the same story. Debt addiction. France just 113% debt to GDP is shocking, but the US is racing to catch up, running trillion-dollar deficits in peacetime. Political polarization. The collapse of centrist parties in France and rise of extremes is a preview of polarization tearing apart the US and UK. France is the laboratory trying to maintain 20th century living standards with 21st century demographics and 19th century industrial thinking. If France collapses, if bond vigilantes finally attack French debt, if Europe has to bail out Europe's second largest economy, it won't just be a French problem. It will be a global financial cataclysm. So when you look at France, don't just see a poor country, see a warning flare. France is living on borrowed time and borrowed money. The illusion of wealth is maintained by debt, and social peace is maintained by spending money the state doesn't have. The question isn't if the correction is coming. The question is when. And for you, the lesson is simple. Don't let the postcard fool you. Don't let luxury brands distract you. And most importantly, look at your own country's balance sheet, because the French disease is contagious, and you might already be infected.